Hello everyone, I'm back to do another phalloplasty question and answer video. Some people had left more comments um, or more questions in the comment section. I'll probably go back and answer each person individually just in case not everybody watches this video who would ask questions, but I just wanted to compile it in a video because I think it's useful information that if you don't read all the comments that um, you still get the information in this video. So, first question I got does wrist size have an impact on the girth of the phallus? Now, this is the one question that I actually asked the surgeon in my consultation. I may have asked one other question, but this is the only thing that I actually remembered to ask her because I have pretty thin arms, very thin wrists, not a lot of meat on my arm bone. There just isn't a lot there, so I was concerned about the girth of the phallus. I was concerned about just the size in general. And she said to me that it really shouldn't be a problem. And she was right. I mean, I ended up with I was expecting to have a really, really skinny penis and just not be super thrilled with it, but honestly it just looks perfectly fine. She said it wasn't going to be a problem, and she was right. It really isn't a problem. That being said, though, I was told to expect, not by the surgeon or anything, but just from other guys who have had phalloplasty, and by pictures and things, I just was told constantly, oh, pack really big before having phalloplasty, so you get used to having something really big in your pants, and you're gonna have something larger than you're expecting, and all these things. So I was expecting to have a very large penis, and that's just not the case for me, at least. Which is fine because I was worried about that. I was really hoping for nothing more than 4.5 inches in length, and I'm under that amount. So I mean, I ended up with the perfect amount that I was looking for. But if you're going into surgery expecting at least 5 inches and, all of these things, I would say lower your expectations because you may not get that. Now, I didn't have any conversation with my surgeon about what my desired length was or anything because, you don't really get to choose. I think that you can throw it out into the universe and say to the surgeon, this is my ballpark of where I want to be, but they really can't, as my understanding is, they really can't, if you can't say I want 6 inches and they just make it happen. It really is depending on your body and how things work. And my other concern was, I know that the urethral lengthening is an issue, and can cause a lot of complications. And my issue was, if I end up with a 5-inch penis rather than a 4-inch, that's another extra inch of urethra that they have to create, and therefore another inch that is potentially going to be a problem. So for me, I was like, you know what? I want something manageable. I want something that is not going to be a nuisance to me, just learning how to walk and sit and whatever, with this new body part. I didn't want, it's never been a dream of mine to have a huge penis. That's just not something I was interested in. So for me, the size that I ended up with was perfect, but I think it's important to go in with realistic expectations, because when everybody is constantly saying to you, you're going to end up with this really big penis in comparison to other cisgender man flaccid penises, that may not always be the case. And for me, it worked out, and I'm really happy with what I did get. But for some people, maybe they would be disappointed if they were expecting, like I said, 5 or 6 inches, and you end up with 3 or 4 or 4.5 or whatever. So yeah, as far as the girth goes, it really didn't have an issue. I'm perfectly happy with the girth of what I got, and it doesn't look thin to me at all. So that's good. The next question is, how long after going home from Montreal do you have to go back for a follow-up appointment? So With phalloplasty in Montreal, you have to go for an in-person consultation because they have to check your arm. I know I'm kind of backtracking here before I answer the question, but as far as I understand, every other surgery that they perform, they can do an over the phone or like a, I don't know if it's Skype, don't quote me on that, but as far as I understand, they do like phone consultations. But because of phalloplasty and the nerve and the arm donor site, they have to check the donor site in person. So you do have to go for an in-person consultation. That being said, you do not have to go for follow-up appointments in person. They do an email follow-up, the nurses do, to check up on you a certain amount of intervals after you've gone home, and your doctor at home can do follow-up appointments with you. So far, I had some nurses here checking up on like the wounds, the open wounds and stuff, which I have mentioned in another video, and then my family doctor kind of just checking in on me. It would obviously depend on the comfort level of your doctor, but I would say line up before you go for surgery. It may take months to find somebody to do it. Line up who's going to take your stitches out and who is going to take your catheter out. It is going to be harder than you think to find someone to do those things because doctors don't want to touch other surgeons' work and they don't want to do it. It took a long time for my doctor and I to find somebody willing to take the stitches out and to take the catheter out. Because if you don't find someone to do it, you will have to go back to Montreal for it, and you're going to go all the way to Montreal so they can do a literally half-hour appointment of taking the stitches out, taking the catheter out, and then go back home. That's a lot of money if you live in Ontario, like I do, and having to travel all the way there for just that when literally anybody can do it. It's just nobody wants to. So it's, if you have doctors willing to do the follow-up stuff that is necessary, you don't have to go back to Montreal for follow-up appointments. But if you cannot find anybody, then you would have to go back, which is unfortunate, but they do set it up in a way. They understand that people are coming from all over Canada, and they understand that nobody wants to come back for, a half-hour appointment all the way. Some people are coming from BC, like you don't want to go all the way across the country, if it's not necessary. I do know that other people have had complications that did involve having to go back to Montreal for an in-person look, because the surgeon just can't get a good idea from just pictures of what's going on. Knock on wood, so far I haven't had anything happen that would warrant that, but you do have to keep that in mind and make sure you have the money set aside in case of an emergency, because people in an emergency room at a hospital are not going to want to touch another surgeon's work. I know that from experience. And I know that from hearing other people talking, not just about phalloplasty, but just surgery in general. They will tell you, go see the surgeon who did the surgery. So I would say line up a urologist to deal with any urine issues. Line up a bunch of plans, doctors and backup plans of people you can go to in your general area who can do follow-ups with you and who are willing to do that and willing to be in communication with Montreal if need be. And just so that you're set and you don't have to worry about that stress unless a major complication happens, which you then have to go back to Montreal for. Another question was, did I know from the start that I wanted phalloplasty instead of metoidioplasty? Yes, for sure. I always, right from the beginning, as soon as I learned the difference between the two surgeries, immediately was, I'm getting phalloplasty or I'm not having surgery at all. And then the follow-up question to that was, what factors led me to choose phalloplasty? It was just what I was looking for. Metoidioplasty would not have been able to fill the void that I was trying to fill. I wish I could have gone for metoidioplasty because I liked the idea of being able to achieve natural erections, but the sexual function wasn't the main issue for me with my old equipment. My issue was not being able to pee standing up and not actually feeling a penis in my pants, and having it against my thigh or whatever. The biggest thing for me was seeing it attached to my body, feeling it in my underwear, feeling it against my leg, and just having it exist. That was number one, which I now have, and it's excellent. Number two was standing to pee, which with metoidioplasty is not always possible, just because of the size. And I think I had quite a bit of growth from testosterone, but it just wasn't enough for me personally. What I had would not have satisfied my need for a penis. Like, it just wouldn't have. And I wasn't going to go through surgery for something that was going to not fill what I needed it to, the void that I needed it to fill. And so, it wasn't ever really a question. Except for, am I going to go for this surgery at all, or am I just going to live the rest of my life without it? And people go on and on about how the science isn't there and it's not a real penis and whatever. That never bothered me. I never listened to any of that crap. I just went, you know what? I'm going to go in with low expectations about all I want is something that is mine. It does not feel anything like wearing a Packer. It feels nothing like that. It's attached to me. It has its flesh and blood and everything flowing through it. Like it's there and it's mine and it is a part of my body. Even if it came from here, it's still a part of my body, and it is changed my image of my body so drastically, and I'm so grateful for that. And I just, like, for the people who are saying like, oh, the science isn't there and it doesn't feel real and whatever, it depends on your opinion of real and your expectation of what it's going to be. I went in with the expectation that I'm never going to have a cisgender penis. I will never ever have that. Doesn't matter how long the science advances, I will never have that in my lifetime. I don't think that's going to happen. Transplants, whatever, I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. And so I could go for what is currently available now, while it's covered by the government, while I'm working a job that I was able to take that leave from, while I'm young and able to physically recuperate at a rapid speed, as opposed to if I waited even 5-10 years, my body will react differently. And all of the nurses that I've seen who have seen the results and the amount of time that it's been since surgery are shocked at how fast I have healed. And they're like, it's because I'm 22 and I'm healthy. I don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now. And I'd rather get this surgery done now while I'm young and healthy than wait for a problem to arise in the future and not be able to do it, or do it and then be miserable because it's, my body just can't handle it. So and if science advances to offer this surgery in a different way, who's to say that they can't enhance what I've already had done? It doesn't mean that like only people who have never had any bottom surgery can have this new scientific exploration of phalloplasty, or whatever. Like, who's to say that in the future they can't enhance what I've already had done? So I don't see the argument of the science isn't there, I'm not getting it till the science is better, because that could be 10 years from now, 20, 50, 60 years from now. I'm going to be 80 years old in 60 years, 82. Like, I'm not having phalloplasty when I'm 82. So I also don't want to be a guinea pig for whatever the newest, iteration of bottom surgery is. I don't want to be the first person to have it done, which means I want to wait a while until it's not perfected, but to a point where surgeons are comfortable doing it. And so I needed to do it now. Now was the right time to do it, and I'm so happy I did. And if something better comes along in the future, I honestly, I don't think, if that's 20 years from now, that would have been 20 more years that I lived without a penis, always wondering what if I had gone for it 20 years ago. I have no regrets about doing it now, or the surgery I chose, or the surgeon I chose, or it all has worked out and splendidly as far as I can tell at this point. The next question is, does Montreal show post-op pictures during consults? They didn't for me. I saw no pictures. I saw no anything. I don't know. I never asked. I didn't even think about it because I'm under the impression that they're quite private. And like, I just didn't ask because I didn't necessarily need it. I know that some people really want to see post-op pictures so they can see kind of what they're getting, but my impression of this surgery is that everybody's results are going to be very different. Everybody's bodies are completely different. Even the pictures that I have seen of other people who went to Montreal, which is very few, I've just managed to find people who were willing to share their pictures, look so different from my results. And not in a yours are better than mine or mine are better than yours, just like they look different. And that's how bodies are. Everybody's bodies look different, and especially genitals being such a specific part of the body, all look extremely different from each other. So I personally didn't see any value in asking for pictures of other people's results from like the surgeon or anything, because I didn't think that was something they did, and I also just knew that I was going to get what I was going to get regardless of what Joe Blow over there got. Like it didn't matter to me, so I didn't ask. They didn't offer. At any point was I told like, oh, did you want to see pictures, or we have pictures or whatever? There was no offer, and I didn't ask, so I'm sorry, I don't know if they do offer to show pictures or not. That is something that you would have to ask them on your own. But I just didn't feel comfortable asking because I didn't really care, and I didn't want to open up a can of worms that I wasn't too dead set on trying to see post-op pictures from Montreal, so I didn't bother asking. Does Montreal do the rod or the pump implants for the erectile device? As far as I know, they do both. It's in the package I have. They send you links to like the two different types that they use. I haven't bothered researching them yet because I'm so far away from that stage of surgery at this point that it doesn't bother me right now. But they, at this point in time, or at least at the point in time when they gave me those packages, they offered both the pump and the rod. But I haven't really looked into much about them because I just haven't made a decision yet in that space, because I still have another surgery before any of that is even going to happen. But at the time that I got the surgery package, they were offering both of the different implant types. And I think that is all of the questions that I had this round. Again, if you have any further questions, anybody else has questions, leave them in the comments. I'll make more videos, as many as needed, to answer questions about phalloplasty. And as time goes on, obviously, I think that different questions will arise. A lot of these questions are about like the actual surgery and stuff, but I think that as time goes on, and I have more stages of phalloplasty, it'll be different kind of questions that are being asked. So for sure, continue to ask questions. I'm happy to answer them. Yeah, thank you for watching.